Hello, this is the Sonkhonkett Podcast, episode number 1, where we talk about all things Sonkhonkett, the fictionalized town that exists just north of Boston, Massachusetts. It is embraced in a Puppet Towny comedy web series called Sonkhonkett. We did have an earlier podcast called Articulated Foolery. There's one episode up on the YouTube channel you're checking out now, Sonkhonkett with Melissa Dole. And today our guest is Willie Wagant, has played an important role on this show. You can introduce yourself, Willie.
Yes. Yeah, my name is Will Wagant. I go by Will. When Kyle first met me at Mass Art, I did go by Willie, in his defense. However, yeah, I go by Will now. And yeah, I'm an artist. I mostly painting. I do a lot of 2D art, and for Sonkhonkett, I do some tech stuff. I hit record, and I mark the.
He's got a smooth finger.
That's what I'm known for, is my smooth finger. Anyways, my creative preoccupation is mostly related to process that starts with creative writing, and then a lot of drawing and painting as the result of that creative writing process. And I think Kyle and I. We've just connected over the years through the creative writing, storytelling, that sort of thing. Yeah, we there's a lot of just kind of synonymous activities in our practice, and yeah, that's my intro.
Yeah, Willie's plays a big role in the show in terms of recruiting people, which is very important. He's brought in a lot of people onto the show and has brought awareness of the show to a whole array of folks, which is very important. Because the idea is to create a company that fiscally viable, that can pay people to do what they like to do, which is hard to achieve. But I dedicate my life to do so. So that's a very instrumental thing. And just to remind you folks, spread the word about Sonkhonkett. Share this on your social media, or you can or talk about it in face to people. Well, maybe not so much now, the pandemic, but spread the word. We do a lot of wonderful things on the show.
Spread the word through your mask.
Yeah.
or even potentially using sign language. That could be a new form of communication these days. American Sign Language.
Is there one big question you have of Sonkhonkett? You've been familiar with the town for at least, it's pushing almost 7 years now.
Yeah. Well, there's the character that I'm kind of starting to manifest in Sonkhonkett. A gentleman by the name of Stevie LeConte. That's 2 E's in Stevie. And Stevie's a big hockey player, and what I'm trying to picture is his high school mascot. So a big kind of like cultural activity in Eastern Massachusetts, from my experience, is high school hockey as an institution. High school sports in general, but definitely the high school hockey program. Stevie's a hockey player. And I've always been curious what Sonkhonkett High... Well, if Sonkhonkett has, for one thing, a high school, or do they have... Is there a regional...
Well, no, it's a tiny town. Mm-hmm. It has 20,000 people population. It does have a mascot.
Okay.
And it has to do with the shape of the town. It looks like the head of a triceratops.
Cool.
So
Perfect.
So they're the sonking tops.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that answers that question.
Yeah.
I was always trying to picture what the mask...
It's gore, 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 you son of a whore.
Whoa! Okay,
it eventually had to be changed to gore, 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 you son of a bore.
Yes. Yeah. I've got to tone it down for the for when they play against Marlborough.
Yeah.
or Marblehead, rather. Fair enough. Okay.
Yes, there's one high school. I do have it mapped out. I don't have the map in front of me, but and there is one middle school and there's about 5 elementary schools.
Okay, that's a good sized town. Well, that was the first question. Got a lot of questions.
Yeah, because we do go into a little. We've only vaguely touched on high school in Sonkhonkett. We do talk about the 80s with Bernie Smock of Bernie Smock's Ottoman Emporium and his friend Ronnie Twitman of who's also known as DJ Cheesecake of the Marsh, channel 107.8, The Marsh, Sonkhonket's only radio station that has recently dismantled.
Damn shame.
Yeah.
And
it was at that high school where the premier Guns and Needles tribute band of the North Shore, Guns N' Roses tribute band, Guns and Needles was created.
Yeah.
Okay,
in that high school.
Yeah. That's the big in terms of recent history maker.
I see.
Yeah.
So that I just realized another question I have about Sonkhonkett, which is so a lot of the characters I know are transplants. Like the Mcgarveys, for instance, are Charlestown transplants to Sonkhonkett.
Charlene from Revere.
Right, Charlene from Revere is like we know her as Charlene from Revere.
Yeah.
Like these we have a lot of transplants from
which is common because a lot of townies from Boston have moved out.
Right.
But there are locals, including Charlie, Nolan, Lauren Schimmel, Chelsea and Lynn, Bernie, Ronnie, Squeaks. Squeaks was born at McCluskey Housing Projects.
Right. That's
now there's a lot of born and raised residents there, but part of like Sonkhonkett is a piece of anthropology, so you need to kind of touch upon the spectrum of townies. You have to make sure you hit up. And there's other future characters that will come in, but I wanted to make sure that was included. Like the mayor, which he's never shown up yet because I haven't found a performer for him yet, but he's originally from East Boston.
I think that's a good note of realism on your part. Like if everyone was like a diehard born and bred townie with like roots in the town, it wouldn't very. I don't think that would land necessarily. Like that wouldn't.
No, it's a little bit. That would be a little bit too Leave It to Beaver, kind of like that
scripted or something.
Yeah, just that kind of a little too perfect. Yeah, then you get transplants from like Missoula Arcoloma, like Jasper Jenkins.
Yeah,
and then no one really knows where Scups lives. Like he was born. I mean, technically in the waters of Gloucester, but not on. So I don't know like what it reads on his birth certificate.
Okay, yeah.
He definitely wasn't born in a hospital.
Yeah.
My mom was not born in a hospital.
Really?
No, she was born. My Nana, her mom was a nurse, but she was born in a triple decker in Medford.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's perfect. It's funny that a nurse refuses to give birth in a hospital.
I don't know the story of that.
Knows too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably hard to narrow down to one, but what are some favorite characters on the show?
Favorite characters? It's... Yeah, I mean...
Like, I understand there's different, but if you had to just, like... Yeah, just pick... You can pick a couple, but...
The first one that comes to mind is Charlie. I like Charlie because I've just I've known so many versions of Charlie. There's something very realistic about that character, while simultaneously being a caricature. So I really like Charlie. He pisses me off too. Like, he's one of those guys that kind of he grinds your gears, but in the right ways. I like him. I also like him he's like a complicated guy with a very kind of simple like outlook, but there's some really like virtuous features of his personality.
Yeah, he lets the Mcgarveys pay their rent like 3 months late.
Yeah.
And now because of the virus, 5 months.
Yeah, that's pretty chill. I mean,
now when it comes to fixing things on time, that's another story. But they do get fixed, sort of.
Right.
Dottie may not be the most happy about that, but
I mean, it's a consistent level of accountability.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, I mean, her own son, may have done some damages on his property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Graffiti, specifically. A lot of graffiti.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I've known a lot of versions of Charlie throughout my life, and I like the puppet version the most. I'll just leave him in that dimension. But that's one, and then I forget. Well, the Inhalants guy. Those are some of my favorite clips.
Jasper Jenkins.
Yes.
Yeah, Jasper Jenkins, for those who don't know. And I'm going to release a series of short stories by Halloween called the Bog Tonic Bedtime Stories. One of them will offer the origin story of Jasper Jenkins. So Jasper Jenkins is this kind of ambiguously, like, possum-like being. He's a transient. He did not have the easiest life. He's from where, like, the South meets the Midwest meets the West. I won't go too much into the details, but he was sold to a farmer, so he was sold pretty much as a slave, and he escaped. And on his trials to, like, barely survive, he kind of coped through using inhalants, and thus he became you could argue, a sommelier of inhalants. He has squared off slots on Sonkhonkett Community Access, where he has a show called Appreciating the Ethereal Spirit. A new episode of that will be released soon. You can watch the first episode on the Sonkhonkett YouTube channel. He has made home in the only place. Well, there's several places where he could, but he's done it where no one really goes near the property of Lauren Schimmel. Lauren Schimmel is a registered sex offender, an objectophile, done kind of unspeakable things to staplers, tennis balls. It was the fire hydrants that definitely like crossed the line. But he has developed kind of a symbiotic relationship with Lawrence,
right,
similar to that of like a squirrel and an oak tree. Like the tree offers a home for the squirrel and nuts to live off of, but the tree gets something out of that too. It gets someone to propagate itself. The squirrel will grab the acorns and bury them all over the place, but it won't always get every acorn, and thus there's new oak trees. So with Lawrence Schimmel and Jasper Jenkins, because of Lawrence's reputation, it prevents him from having a lot of job opportunities. He does work as a programmer for Verizon part-time, but he also got his hands on a Charlie card machine, so he can put free money on your Charlie card for a nominal fee. And he's able to get customers because Jasper sells drugs. Jasper does not touch drugs. He purely sticks with the inhalants.
Mm-hmm.
He's a turpentine guy. So he's been like the major source of drugs for Sonkhonkett, which is a little risky because the surrounding gangs in the area are not too like thrilled with this.
Yeah, he's slippery though. I think he's a survivor.
Oh yeah, he's a survivor. I mean, he may only have one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knows how to get through things and how to get through like a really bad like airplane glue, gasoline hallucination.
Yeah, that's no joke.
No, I'm joking all. So Lord Schimmel barely just like tolerates him.
That's fact. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, going back to your initial question, it's actually like the kind of dynamic. Like those two are almost like
They're the odd
Harry
couple.
and Maude. Yeah, exactly. You can't like choose one or the other. Like those two and Charlie are those are my favorite Sonkhonkett people. Which is funny because I think those are all like kind of secondary characters. Seems like Tommy's.
Yeah, it's weird
Almost.
because it's like ideally the show like Charlene's the star,
Mm-hmm.
but like yeah, there's some that outshine more just like with people. So like Tommy's got this bigger than life kind of personality, and then people love Dottie a lot, his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear which characters people prefer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I try to balance it out, make sure I get as many different types of characters as possible.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's a community.
Yeah, it's a community. So I try to throw as many characters as frequently as I can out there. Thoughts on Tommy Mcgarvey, aka the 617 Rage?
Thoughts on him?
Yes.
Tommy. I don't know. It's just he's on one. Tommy's on one. He's I'll actually tell you why Tommy's not my favorite. Like to me, Tommy's actually a little bit. He's kind of predictable. Whereas the other all those other characters seem to have like a little more depth. Whereas Tommy he's just kind of predictable. The side story of him hating the firefighters, like I love like the paranoia. Like that's that kind of shakes it up a little bit. That's a really interesting character detail, but Tommy compared to the other characters for me is less dimensional than some of my favorite characters. But at the same time, he's kind of like the Homer Simpson of the show. So I guess you do need like a level of like that. He almost provides stability, I think, because you need someone who has some predictability, constantly in conflict with basically everyone, and marches to the tune of his own drum. Yeah.
Drum machine.
yeah, electronic drum. But the dynamic between Tommy and Squeaks / the dynamic between Tommy and his mom are like those are really there's like really interesting like edible not edible as in like a weed gummy, but like Oedipus complex. Like Tommy is a father figure to Squeaks. It's revealed in several clips, which is absolutely hysterical to me. And then the relationship between him and his mom is also really funny. I mean, like Tommy's probably the largest puppet in the show, and his mom is maybe the smallest.
Yeah, one of the smallest.
Among the smallest. Also anthropomorphic, mind you.
Yeah.
She's a dog, partially.
Just the body.
Yeah, and yet he's terrified of her, and she rips him into little pieces in quite a few skits, and you see him, you see like his true colors come out. So he's a good character, but yeah, he's not my favorite to be full disclosure.
It's funny because like. It takes a while to like develop a character. Like I need skits to kind of set things up and first just kind of hook people's attention. Yeah, Tommy does have like a more developed backstory. I think the big reason is his performer isn't with us on the East Coast anymore.
His performer is a completely different story.
Yeah.
I could go on forever about that guy. Love you, Pat.
Yeah, Pat's a character unto himself. How Tommy got into rap is a story in itself, and I did a 7-minute audio video about that, which you can listen to. I vaguely going to touch upon his career becoming the premier rapper of Sonkhonkett, the 617 Rage.
Okay, look forward to that.
I released that I think last week or something like that. And then we also have his relationship, which we saw in the live show of his cousin, that moved in with Dottie, Officer Wolfberg.
Oh, right.
Which you can also watch on the Sonkhonkett channel. Just look under the live show playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Further insights on Tommy Mcgarvey. So his family, the Mcgarveys, they grew up in Charlestown. So he had a father, Robert Mcgarvey, a.k.a. Slippery. He was named that because he could evade the law quite well. And his father was kind of a petty criminal. He was a paper hanger, and he engaged in debit card fraud.
What is a paper hanger?
Someone who forges checks.
Okay.
Because to forge check, you make copies of the check and you have to wait for the ink to dry.
I see.
So that's
I see.
called paper hanger. And his mother Dottie, very hard working woman, has had multiple jobs in her life. Has worked for the department for a very long time.
Which
department? Which we don't know. No one knows. It's just 35 years in the department.
That's right.
There is 9 years at the canning plant. We know that.
Okay.
And then there was other positions as well, as dragging bricks that would come loose on the sidewalk in Charlestown. It was her job to hunt down and collect and move the bricks. But she wasn't provided a vehicle, so she had to do this via her mouth and a bit of rope and a 2x4. Yeah.
It's a hard life.
It is a hard life. It started out hard too because the McLaughlin gang set off a car bomb when she was a wee puppy.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely shook her up a little bit. Literally, she fell into Boston Harbor. It spooked her that bad. When dogs, you sneak up on them and you go woof, and then they jump 15
Straight
feet
into the air. Yeah.
That's what happened to her back in her childhood, puppyhood.
Yeah.
And it's been tough drinking. That's a hard thing to knock off. But she put the plug in the jug years ago and swears by AA, and AA gives her some sort of semblance in the world, kind of the insanity that she has to deal with. The only person that she loved, unfortunately, didn't get busted, and he got sent off to do some time in Concord, which is. The Concord jail is just kind of like a holding facility. Either just you do your jail time or you're just waiting to do further jail time somewhere else or prison. He had a very unfortunate incident where he was walking in the cafeteria with his tray. Someone had spilt some chocolate pudding only a minute before. He stepped on it, slipped, and he fell, but he had his utensils in his hand, and the utensils in his body collided into another prisoner's eye socket.
Ooh.
And, it just went right through that brain. And he was charged with manslaughter and had to be sent off to, which is now known as Cedar Junction, a.k.a. Walpole, that federal prison. Tommy lunged onto this. It kind of helped deal with his pain of his father being locked up when he was 12. And having to leave Charlestown because there was a significant bit of income that was taken away. So Tommy kind of painted him up as one of the big boys in Charlestown. That's not the case at all. But this gave Tommy an identity when he was. He kind of looked at, going to Sonkhonkett as being sent off to Timbuktu. He looked at himself as a kid in the brick.
Yeah.
And now he was a kid in a, in the gray brick, as he refers it to.
Okay.
It's not as desirable.
I've met some people from the inner city when they move to a place like Saugus, for instance. They'll say they live in the sticks now, or in the boonies, which is hilarious to me because the houses are still 15 feet apart. But since there aren't since it's not the real the inner city, it's that's the country.
Tommy will tell you that zip code's everything.
Yeah. What does he mean by that?
The zip code is everything.
Okay.
He has it, tattooed on him.
Okay.
Along with his She-Town Shamrock and his 617 Rage.
Yeah.
Not the best quality because they keep fading out to like that greenish blue color.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I like to call them, Lynn tattoos.
Yeah.
But Tommy struggled. I mean, he was a good like straight C- student in Charlestown,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was just then it was just F's all the time in middle school and.
When we got to Sonkhonkett.
Yeah, Sonkhonkett High. Tommy came in kind of demanding a lot of respect, feeling that his zip code, was it. Like
Okay, so street cred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he always wear those crisp Timberlands like. But he was faced with like a cold blow from reality. His father gone and being sent in his town, so he figured he could look up, an easy way to kind of gain kind of this masculine dominance and powers to become a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
He was on his way to get into an apprenticeship, but inadvertently his cousin, Officer Wolfberg, jeopardized that. Now, Tommy is still unaware of this.
Oh, wow.
And him and his cousin don't get along at all.
Yeah.
At all. So Tommy became very resentful of firemen. He looked at them as kind of the enemy because he didn't have much to say in high school when he was getting into the rap game. He became interested. He decided that he was like a true artist, but didn't decide to kind of pull through when it came to like things like painting and writing and other things. So he kind of stuck to what the older kids were doing, rap. Tommy just he felt like he was pushed up into a corner. So he needed to go. His only way was to go on the asinine contrarian route and say, well, fuck the firemen.
Right.
Yeah, Tommy didn't quite understand everything about NWA. And so he continued that for a while, and then he got punished for that. That kind of toxic ideology bit him in the ass, where one night he stole plumber's cock from Jasper Jenkins, and Jasper Jenkins reported it to the police. Reluctantly, Jasper did, but that's plumber's cock. Has its purpose with certain inhalant concoctions. And Tommy was found in front of a South Sonkhonkett fire station. He sealed all the doors and windows of this firehouse.
Yeah.
Profane graffiti sprayed all over. Tommy was sentenced 120 hours of community service at Sonkhonkett Senior Living Center. And there's a skit of that. I'll put it in the link where you can see Tommy handing out food at the Sonkhonkett Senior Living Center. He did his time like his old pops.
Yeah.
As
not quite the same.
Well, he would argue differently.
Yeah.
He got out and he had nowhere to go. He had it with his mother. He felt like he just didn't get the respect that he should have from Dottie.
Mm-hmm.
So he's waiting at the bus stop, and this old man is just rambling about Sonkhonkett history and then Sonkhonkett folklore. And Tommy, his attention is grabbed by the Sonk Marsh Witch. It's something that like he feels no one has heard of, and he's in a panic. Like he's out of the cell. What is he gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, what is he gonna do with his rap? Never mind like a job or a house or anything else. It's about his art, kid.
Yeah. Gotta respect that.
Yep. He's a purist.
Yeah.
So, he went after, did his research. Whatever that research is, I'm not quite sure. He does,
Does he read well?
Oh, he does. He goes to the Sonkhonkett Library.
Okay.
And he does have to go to the children's section, because he is bothered by, in the adult section, when he's using the computers to try to record his albums.
Mm-hmm.
Homeless people masturbating, just really...
he doesn't like that.
He doesn't like that at all. So he has to go to the children's section, and the librarian down there doesn't appreciate his kind of volume and certain use of language around the youngsters. But Squeaks is a good distraction.
Wait, does Squeaks run interference for him, basically?
Yeah, Squeaks does everything for Tommy. Squeaks is kind of Tommy's only friend, and Tommy's is only Squeaks' friend. Like,
yeah,
and that's how they got through high school.
There's a lot of symbiotic relationships in Sonkhonkett, it seems like.
Yeah, because a lot of who we are is defined by who we interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not these individual little spheres. We're formed by our the relationships we have with people. So like, yeah, the Mcgarvey, that's a clan,
mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, Tommy and Dottie are just kind of this one entity. But Tommy's an entity with Squeaks because he's so on the edge that he's just not sociable. Like, no one could like really be his genuine friend.
Yeah,
like he's sociable, but Tommy like can only find Squeaks as a like friend, and Squeaks is just such a lost child that he also can't socialize effectively, and thus it's so there's this common theme of like rejects
mm-hmm.
kind of finding each other, which that roots into the identity of Sonkhonkett and its history. Right. This connects to the quarantine that's going on now. So back in 1691, there was an issue of smallpox and cholera, and it would hit the North Shore a lot, and people would send these people down to the marshes of the South Shore. The town of Boston had it with like the North Shore sending all these sick people through. So they're like, you know what? This Rumney Marsh, so that's where Sonkhonkett takes place, they decided to quarantine it. And even though it was already in 1630 sanctioned off as Indian territory, there were a few families that had already, like wealthy families that had properties there, including like the Jenkins.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it ended up being a town where everyone became sick, but there was this one girl, she was the daughter of a high-ranking official. Her name was Abigail Georgina Jenkins. She never fell ill, and she was looked with suspicion, and eventually she was ostracized for not being sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was treated like a witch. So she became very resentful and bitter and settled within the Sonkhonkett, this little marsh inside called the Misquonsquampit Marsh. And yeah, she became so embroiled with like, just disappointment and hate and anger that she wanted to have vengeance on this community that just treated her like a witch. So one night she ran into Old Scratch, the devil, in exchanging for her mortality. For her soul, she got immortality. It transformed her. She became the marsh. The reeds and the barnacles and the mud and the clam worms fused into her. The cormorant fused into her. Yeah, she's just ravaged such havoc on this town. And one of the ways she does that is she sneaks subversively through in politics. Any man running for office or has any sort of government position that has mommy issues, she seduces him as a mother. And she has these 7 teeth she's developed that secrete the seagull shit that acts as this potion that can kind of put him in a trance. And in this trance, she can force them to do all sorts of crazy things, like Sonkhonkett Boulevard, the main thoroughfare, Route 107, the Salem Turnpike. It's only 2 miles long, but it has 7 roundabouts. So, Sonkhonkett, in its history, and this is real history, maybe not the witch stuff, just to make it clear, but it was quarantined,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, it became a place of rejects.
Okay.
And that's
you're saying in real history.
It's weird because I'm ambiguous here. So some things some things are real, some things are not. That's just how I operate. It's up for the viewer to kind of research and decide what's real and what isn't. Sonkhonkett is kind of a surrealist project for me. Yeah, because I get with rejects and misfits, that's who I am, who I've been throughout my whole life, and I still feel now, and that's what I sympathize with the most, and those are the people that are most interesting. In a lot of ways, the townie has become the misfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a common theme of, like, people that just don't fit in with anyone. The space that they exist is the new space where they meet their new relationships. Yes, relationships are a very important thing to keep in mind when creating a character. The only character on the show that kind of almost doesn't is Scups. Scups is meant to be a loner. He does interact with other characters because he's, mongering fish. But other than that, they're all pretty, like, defined. Like, Charlene eats her girls. Like, that kind of is her gang. And Chelsea and Lynn don't have enough confidence to kind of exist on their own. So they kind of need her as a leader. And also the relationship between, like, Ronnie and Bernie getting back to restart Guns and Needles again. That's because they kind of are escaping their wives, which they're getting kind of fed up with.
Yeah.
And that kind of reveals, like, how Ronnie is a bit of a mess inside, how his all his kind of artistic pursuits have, like, failed. And this last one from high school is just kind of his last hope. And Bernie, he's lived a financially very successful life, mostly because, his father, like, gave him the business. He's just kind of stuck in this malaise of, lived a really good life, and it's just kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of wants to go back to high school where it was just simpler times.
I see.
Yeah. He's not as... He just takes it as kind of an escape, while Ronnie treats it as his art.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everything. And he has something to say, even though Guns and Needles is just a cover band for Guns N' Roses. It's not, like, necessarily original art.
Yeah. Yeah.
As Ronnie likes to remind Bernie, it's Paradise City, not Paradise Titties.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Ernie Bach Jr.
That's what I was referencing, Ernie Bach Jr. and the Bernie and Phils.
Okay, yeah.
But more so the character is like, because that was kind of, actually never mind, I don't know what I was saying, but yeah, a lot of Ernie Bach Jr.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
He's an interesting person, yeah.
Yeah, he is.
I get it more, like, the father I like, but the junior, he's his own very...
He's cool.
Oh yeah, real cool. It's got that giant mansion in Martha's Vineyard. It's got the huge lawn with the giant Buddha statues and the llamas.
Oh my god, really?
It's like this huge, like, it's almost like it's kind of like those palatial French lawns that would lead up to, like, the nobleman's house, but it's like, yeah, if you gave it to, like, a real trashy, like, South Shore County to, like, handle it, so it's like, oh yeah, we'll just plop in random Buddha statues and llamas.
Right.
A lot of llamas.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah, and I enjoy watching the old Ernie Bach Sr., his kind of his dealership commercials. You can watch them on YouTube. Okay.
When was that? I think I only knew about Junior.
Yeah, our Junior's our generation.
Yeah.
But our parents had Senior.
The Senior? Okay.
And then there was the grandfather. He opened it in the 30s.
Oh, wow.
But it became one of the fastest growing car dealerships in the country.
They
made a lot of history, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's why it's a humongous business.
Bach, it's only Honda, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah. Only Hondas, yeah. And Bernie Smock sells the Hondas of Ottomans.
Yeah.
Bernie Smock Ottomans Emporium. It's your leading supplier of all your footrest needs. And we'll put the commercial of that business in the link to this podcast episode.
That's one of my favorite clips, actually. Those fake commercials are really funny.
Yeah, we have fun doing the commercials because they're short, so it's like not too much pressure. But yeah, we've had I'm actually going to redo it for the third time now that I understand editing technology better. Chuck Jonesboro, attorney at law, he's the attorney that stumbled into Sonkhonkett one day. So I guess similar to Jasper. No one knows where he's from. But yeah, you can see his commercial in the pilot episode that I redid it again about a year later. And I want to do it again now that I understand green screen better. And then we also have the Hidden Records commercials. So I used to, with someone else, we had a record bookshop. So there's a couple commercials with the Sonkhonkett characters in them. You can check those out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, the commercial is an interesting thing because I'm able to provide you a more three-dimensional look in the world. Because, like, commercialism is a big part of our lives, contemporary lives. So, yeah, sure, there's the stories, little skits, but then you can also see, like, this other aspect of this town that, for me, makes it all the more real.
Yeah, that is that's a really good, like, layer, I think, to have those, because then you're almost receiving, like you're receiving media produced by, like allegedly by puppets, and so you're kind of you're receiving media on the same format that the puppets would receive it, and it's created by them. So you buy in just a little bit more. You get like slightly more into I think the experience.
Yeah, and that ties into me with the Meet on the Streets Sonkhonkett community access interviews.
Right.
It makes it real because you're seeing an interview now.
Yeah.
A TV show within a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you have like the puppets interacting with real people too, like you've acted before, like Allie's been in there. I love that. Like it just seems to like really kind of disrupt the expectations, and everyone's always wearing kind of an outlandish costume that still feels like relative, to Sonkhonkett, or not. I shouldn't say relative. I guess it's like it on brand maybe, or it doesn't disrupt the pattern of Sonkhonketry at all. Like the outfits that the humans are wearing, and somehow the scale isn't disruptive either. It's just a very real conversation, and yeah, I love those skits a lot.
Once this pandemic ends, we'll continue with more of those. I also like to redo. I like to make iterations. For those of you who watch Sonkhonkett, I'm obsessed with iterations. I always like to make a better version of something. So you can see with the sets, we're right now filming where I build the sets. So I like to make multiple versions of them, the puppets, skits, because that's the only way I feel like I can learn, and anyone else can learn. Just like I do tons of new things, but like that makes it. I want to make this show like pack a punch, be as real as possible.
Yeah.
Another thing, because I like making this because it's a multimedia show, but recently Charlene has made her own videos.
Okay.
In terms of beauty tips she's offering. Charlene has dropped out of beauty school 5 times, but she's stubborn. She has goals, and she feel like she can beautify Sonkhonkett, and yeah, she's locked away in quarantine. She's not with me, but she's releasing videos. So we got 2 up there, and yeah.
What's her story, Kyle? What's her what she doesn't seem like a reject so much. She seems like someone that would fit into a lot of like kind of like I guess like social circles.
Yeah, she's very confident, she definitely has a spine, assertive.
Yeah, her and Tommy are almost like the yin and yang of a certain persona.
Yeah, it's yin and yang, but also very like competitive. Like they kind of like they're constantly like one-upping each other.
Oh, I know. No, they don't get along. No, they're both the same.
And I shouldn't say this too loud, but they have like dated on and off.
I had a feeling.
It is referenced back in 2014 a couple times, but I didn't tell you that though, guys. Yeah, Charlene has had no problem socializing in terms of like having people around her.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tragedy as opposed to like what the Mcgarveys had to live through. There definitely was a lot of drama in the house. Her mother was a waitress. Her father was a mechanic who was a Vietnam vet that had like a lot of PTSD. Then you compound that with like just being Italian and Revere.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just well, it made Charlene.
Okay.
But Charlene does have a nemesis, and her name is Kimberly Spatchcock.
Okay.
I'm currently working on her. I've been kind of on and off with it. I'm redesigning her. I'm going to try. Melissa suggested she needs to be a skunk blonde. But that was her rival.
Okay.
In middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like it was a battle in terms of fighting for who got like custody over Chelsea and Lynn. But yeah. Charlene won by like the skin of her acrylic nails.
Mm-hmm.
Like she got them on her team.
Okay.
But yeah, Kimberly's that girl who just does everything better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of fucked with Charlene up a lot.
Was she academically more?
Not so much. I mean, it was a B, but that was like an A+ for Charlene.
Yeah.
That's the actuality. Like when we compare ourselves, we're looking through a very narrow lens.
Mm-hmm.
In actuality, Kimberly Spatchcock is just good, not excellence. But for Charlene, Charlene just had kind of the standard, lacking a confidence that everyone else has. Not low self-esteem, but she was definitely messed up by Kimberly. But at the same time, like, she kind of hasn't owned up to her kind of competitiveness, and her competitiveness has kind of forced her to, like, kind of manifest an enemy, just how, like, Tommy has done that with the Sonky Marsh.
Okay, yeah.
I'm kind of fascinated with that we create our own hells a lot of time. So yeah, Kimberly Spatchcock, it just drives her like out of her mind because she was going to go to beauty school, but Kimberly Spatchcock actually fucked up on the test. But she went, she became a tattoo removal technician, and now she works at what's the name of that tattoo removal shop in Sonkhonkett? I have to go down Sonkhonkett Boulevard. It's right next to Bernie Smock's Ottoman Emporium.
Okay.
But yeah, she works there. I will reference, I shouldn't say this out loud as well, Tommy and Squeaks do steal a tattoo removal machine and try to pawn it off.
Yeah.
Charlene, as much as she can't stand Tommy and Squeaks, she's kind of like, it's one of those like, my enemy's enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
So there's like, she does make a pact, but it's brief.
Yeah.
It's not a long-lasting one. I figured tattoo removal parlor. I forget the name of that. So it's written down somewhere. It's in the Bernie Smock commercial. But yeah, I was on Lynn Beach one time, and there was this van parked, and it was shrink wrapped with the adverts, but it was for a tattoo removal service, which I think is hilarious because tattoos have blown up in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
It's like our generation embraced tattoos, but
yeah,
there's plenty of shitty ones, and there's plenty of ones that are just like people definitely regretted them. So that's like a good career to get into.
Yeah, I mean, I could see
even if this like depression that we're in, like
that's true.
I can see people still needing to get rid of.
Everyone I know who has a lot of tats has, like, at least half of them they want removed. So that's definitely true.
That's not Tommy though.
No, he doesn't. No, those are all gold.
Gold, mint.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering if Charlene, if like the kind of bane of her existence was, or almost like her Achilles heel was some type of like competition with her mom. Like I don't know. She seems like someone who has like a competitive edge that's built into her persona that probably started from a young age.
Yeah, it was definitely the chaos from the household, but
Like the narcissism, all of that. Like it seems
like her parents loved her and she loved them, but it just wasn't the best. It wasn't horrible, but it was chaotic enough where she became addicted to chaos.
right.
Charlene could easily like get into beauty school, but she keeps sabotaging it because she's addicted to chaos.
Yeah.
She could have her own place, but she keeps having to crash at Lynn and Chelsea's.
Mm-hmm.
She gets, throughout her life, very close to success, but success, that's the crux of her issue. She's afraid of moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that's kind of think, kind of there's a big psychological trauma of her leaving Revere, similar to Tommy's, and that's kind of an issue with a lot of townies. Either leaving or the fear of like, or they just could never leave because they don't ever want to like confront that fear. Because that's part of being a townie, is just kind of that certain type of provinciality. It puts like the borders up.
Mm-hmm.
But also too, like provinciality also isn't just unique to townies. So I also apply that to the Yuppersons and other types of people in the show. Yeah, because the Yuppersons, they think they're very cultured and worldly, but they're stuck in their little tiny Victorian built triple decker.
Yeah.
That has some plumbing issues. Charlie's there though to always help fix them up though.
Yeah. Yeah, where are they from originally?
Concord.
The Yuppers. Oh, they're from Concord?
Yeah.
They're Concord. Okay, wait. Yeah.
They wanted an edge, like, sure, like Jamaica Plain or the South End is the new upcoming place, but it's like they're not going to have that clout because we're all looking for clout. Sure, it's like it's easy to pick on like the kid that wants to make it in the rap game, like the 617 Rage, but yuppies are all about that clout too.
Yeah.
So they figured they would go to like an unwanted North Shore town, kind of a post-industrial. It's kind of overlooked.
So is that kind of like when, I've heard of some, yuppies moving to like Lynn, for instance. Is it the same?
Yeah, it's the same thing because that's how it starts. It's not just they trickle in. And they're looking at properties right on the Rumney River. That's the river that splits Sonkhonkett into two from north to south. And Sonkhonkett was in the industrial era was. Rooted in the manufacturing of paper clips and novelty vomit.
Of course.
So now there's all these abandoned properties. They're gonna think about open up, refurbishing them, and they can host First Fridays.
There you go.
Yeah, and they've to make this possible, they're bringing in their nieces like Literal Lillian, the more the hip the hip youth,
Yes.
And they're coming in, for that not so expensive rent and so it's these they look at themselves as like pioneer settlers.
Yeah.
When in actuality they're just a bunch of colonizers.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, kind of like repeating the sins of their like the antagonist in their narrative in a way. Like I would think that most yuppies are very anti-colonial or
and that's their facade.
Anti-frontiersmen.
But that's all what they're all about.
Yeah.
And that's also this younger kind of so-called progressive left-wing types. The reality, that's kind of the irony that they live in. So my whole thing is kind of exposed. Like the great thing about townies is, sure, maybe they're kind of rough and tumbled on the outside, but a lot of their culture is like well-meaning and it's genuine.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's something we should be celebrating. And we should also it's not like it's the whole old saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm.
We're obsessed with book covers.
Yeah.
Like we're utterly just enamored with that shit. And we buy into that shit because we have the right words, the right font, the right gloss. That's enough, and we run on with that. We don't look at like what made that book, all those many pages, all those chapters. The bibliography.
Well, that's an interesting. That leads me to an interesting question. You say that the kind of goal of Sonkhonkett is to actually celebrate townies, and is that true though?
Yeah, it is. It's in the first 6 episodes. I write that to celebrate, but also it acts as I'm doing what I can to be objective, to kind of observe things.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't seem like an overt celebration. It seems
it's
like
not no, it's not overt at all. It's not
or...
overt because that's hard for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I've.
Well, I guess the reason I question that is because I don't know if it's very sincere or honest to try to celebrate a group of people. I think that usually comes off as insincere. I think because people are too complicated.
No, they're too
to just celebrate them.
And I also think the opposite end, to vilify them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, you're right. Both are...
Unless their culture is rooted in hatred. Other than that, so I don't buy the. Yeah, just people are what I believe is people are just too multi-layered and complicated to classify as good or bad.
Yeah, right.
And you should, as much as you should point out the good things about a group of people, you should also point out at least kind of the problematic things.
Yeah.
And of course do that with care and mindfulness, but to me it's just about being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Look at things on. When I say real, I want to make this show look real. Real is truth. Show the truth, because we live in a world of the shiny book cover.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the world of Sonkhonkett, but I'm also here as an observer, and I'm here to present something so you can kind of make your own decisions, your own kind of analysis of this world. Yeah. But I'm not into bashing anybody. Not just because that's the PC thing to do. It's just I find it's
too easy.
It's too easy, and
boring.
It's dumb. It's boring. And then it's been done over and over again.
Yeah. And
do it with a group of people where it's new. It's not talk about a culture that's overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Something that the books aren't writing about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So I look at art. Sure, I could have been an anthropologist and done this the scientific academic way, but is that reaching out to the masses? No.
Mm-hmm.
It's just reaching to a small audience, and ultimately you're just tap dancing for those people. You're not really challenging anything. So that's the power of video. You can anyone can watch it, and it's in the entertainment realm, so it's it's digestible for people. And people can make the choice. You can if you just want to laugh and just have a distraction, that's cool. Sonkhonkett is, I invest my time in that because I know that's important. Not only to hook people in, but just people need that shit. Patton Oswalt, kind of a more cerebral comedian. There's nurses who come out of an 18-hour shift, and that hits me because my mom's a nurse, pretty close. It's sometimes you just need to have a simple laugh. Not everything has to be fucking deep.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be about the system, man.
Right. A challenging joke.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say. I think the measure of really good humor is that it's unexpected. You have to be caught off guard, and to have your expectations positively disrupted is, I think, one of the most the fruit of life, really. To have a positive disruption in your otherwise stressful life. I think anyone would say that their life is stressful no matter what you do for a living. We all it's just we know that our time is limited in life, so that's just a stressful fact. So anyways, To have that disruption of the kind of the monotony in a positive direction, I think is one of the most healthy things that you can experience is a good laugh. So.
Yeah, laughter is important. That's kind of the priority. Part of this project being anthropological is capturing the Massachusetts sense of humor, which is very unique, and it's also very instrumental in building the comedy scene of this nation. We've had some of the best comedy writers and comedians come out of this little area. I remember listening to an interview, Jerry Seinfeld was interviewing Bill Burr, and he just asked, like, what's in the water up there?
Yeah. That's true.
And it's like...
What was Bill Burr's response? Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't remember. That would probably make this, thing I said more profound. But
yeah.
But it's like, not just even those who decide to make comedy, like, professionally. It's like... It's in your doorman, your carpenter, your mailman, your secretary. Like, everyone's funny here.
It's true. Yeah, you get some like real wise asses, I think, is what it is. And there's a lot of like, it's funny. I think like people kind of have the wrong idea about New England because I'd say that people are more maybe not like friendly is not the right word, but fairly polite. Like when you meet someone in like the context that you're talking about, like your mailman, your whoever, a carpenter that comes and does work at your house, like they're nice people on the surface. If you talk to them for 5 minutes longer than the pleasantry happens, though, there's a lot of like interwoven just sarcasm and like really good attitudes. Actually, though, like hardworking people that they get through the day by making raunchy jokes, and by kind of like they're polite to people too. But under that there's something like
there's a punch,
subversive.
And it's fun, it's unique, and it's something important to capture because as comedy has expanded, as the cities have kind of yuppified and lost kind of a lot of their blue collar culture. That's not as found as much in the city anymore.
Yeah.
It's now a very different place of where comedy clubs are now these quote unquote safe spaces, and like content is very sterilized. There's some good stuff out there, don't get me wrong, but it's like it's different, and it's not what I grew up with. And
well, see, it seems like laughs aren't necessarily the goal in a lot of the type of spaces that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I respect, art forms change, but at the end of the day, it's comedy. And you need to stick to comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, that should be, to me, that's like keeping it humble. And keeping it humble is important. Like, a lot of comedians say this, if you come out there thinking you're smarter or better than the audience, you ultimately lose.
Yes. I think Norm mentioned something like that.
Norm Macdonald, Jim Norton has referenced that. So that's my only kind of critique of the new comedy that's been emerging in the city in the last 5 years. Yeah, so so the other element that kind of leads into is also we do live shows. We call them treaters, and they started off not to so much even promote or make money. It was just a way to celebrate the people who participate in the shows, a way to treat ourselves. So it'd be a big party with food and music, and we would just put on shows to entertain each other. And whether it was live puppet acts, stand-up comedy, live music. Yes, and then we kind of turned that into something where we performed it in public. And unfortunately, it stopped short because of this pandemic. But once things kind of return to something, I don't know what that will be. Yeah, we want to do kind of more live performances because the live shows they're their own thing.
Yeah.
But we're still continuing with Sonkhonkett. We've cranked out a bunch of skits.
Do you that's a good question too? Is like, so you're kind of like you're a performance video and like writing artist. You're working in a lot of different medias into Sonkhonkett. 2D artist, the drawings, very much sculptural and crafting the puppets. Is there one? Is if you could pick one of those medias as like let's just say hypothetically that you could hire an entire staff to do everything, and all you did was basically write. What would you miss the most?
So let's just say I just stick to only like writing and producing the show.
Mm-hmm, right.
And everything else I delegate, which ideally I want to do, and I have been doing. I do pay folks, including Willie. He does a lot of set painting and recruiting and stuff. I get a lot from everything. But puppeteering. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I have to, because there's a lot of characters that just can't be performed without me. Yeah. I'm very loose. I've a lot of the characters you'll notice in the show have different voices from episode to episode, just because of logistics of things, and people come in and out of Sonkhonkett. I like that performing. I like it's just really fun. Mm-hmm. It's really it makes storytelling real, because you're becoming the character, but you're putting it in a medium that's real in the sense it's 3D. Like in animation, it's always going to be flat and it's always going to be separated. A puppet exists in your space, which is the 3D world, and that really hits, I think, people when they see a live show. Yeah, that's powerful.
So that kind of goes into my next question too, which is, What do you view Sonkhonkett being represented the most, prominently to your vision? So do you think that the videos represent Sonkhonkett the best, or do you think that the live performances do that?
I think the pogs.
What's that?
The pog chips, you can trade them. Sorry, that's a lie. I haven't made pog chips yet, but that's an idea. I'm just here for the pog business. We're going to bring it back. Hello, 1997.
Yeah. That's very hipster.
A literal Lillian? Yeah. That's the Yupperson's hipster niece. That's a tough one, because, I love watching puppet videos, but at the same time, through critiques and just watching people really love the live shows. And it's also where the money is. Now, things have changed with this pandemic, but people spend money on live stuff. That's where the money, I think that's where I'm going to hit my widest audience. Because right now, it's videos on the internet, that's a drop in the ocean. Mm-hmm. It's that's what I struggle with, and that's why I ask people to kind of share Sonkhonkett stuff on their platforms, because it's just very difficult to recruit people, get eyes on the product. I don't know. This pandemic has changed everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm just kind of working what I have right now is just making videos. I don't have the usual quantity of staff, but I'm working what we have right now. It's a total of 3 people. And then you're moving out soon. But Melissa, a very important performer on the show who performs Charlene, she has Charlene with her. So she's making those beauty tip videos with her. I'm making it work. The first skit I released for the year, it had a shit ton of characters in it. Yeah. And I was the only puppeteer. Yeah. So I'm pretty good at giving the illusion of a world with limited resources, because that's what I've had to deal with, and I'm still kind of dealing with that. So I'm just working with what I got. Mm-hmm. Just work what I have. And these other skits, Tommy is out in the Misconquampin Marsh trying to find that sonky marsh witch. So I got Pat, who does his voice, sends it to me. I got James, who does Squeaks. Squeaks makes the videos for Tommy. There's a lot you can do already, so it's okay. So right now, it's just a world of video. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
does that feel like a sacrifice, or
no, not at all? Yeah, just kind of intimidated. How do I get into live performing? Because the only way for comedy is stand up. It's hard to find or know who would accept, an open mic thing with a multi-act show like what Sonkhonkett is. That's something we're guessing and checking. But I'm kind of glad. It's just a brand new thing, and I didn't know how to handle it. The big thing is, like, the competition's absurd. It's like it's like what music became, like everyone and their nana's in a band.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone wants to be a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Competition's tough. I'm not too intimidated because we're doing our own thing in a different medium, but, like, it's not the easiest thing to... Yeah, just getting stage time is tough. I felt like this was all kind of meant to be. It's just allowed me to work on other elements in the show, all the concept artwork, because what makes the show real is that I create 10 times, if not 100 times more than what you'll see in a video. But that's what makes it real. Because I want you to think behind that house, it's fully furnished, and there's a family, and they have their own lives. Now, maybe just a quick scene where a character walks past the house, but... going above and beyond with creating is like essential to this show.
Mm-hmm.
It's essential to all shows I've seen when you watch behind the scenes stuff. Like, yeah, to make a movie, like all this extra shit is made, but you know what? Like, yeah, maybe it never gets seen or used, but that's important. That's part of the process of developing this world, and the things that, you know, it's the change of directions of what makes kind of the characters dynamic. Even logistical things, because everything's logistics. Like, it's tough to get people to meet up at the same time. Mm-hmm. So that's why Pat left to go to California, but that ended up changing the plot line. So I kind of made, you know, Tommy kind of needs to stop with this old rap game he had, and now he's hiding in the marsh because he's finding this new thing. He's all about the Sonkhonkett Marsh Witch, and that makes it kind of compelling. And coincidentally, it ties in. He's been quarantining in a city that was defined by quarantine, and we're entering a time of quarantine.
Yeah.
So, you gotta be loose, and I feel like I'm a very flexible person. And it's the flexibility is where you discover the golden nuggets.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I can't get over the fact that there was something prophetic, though, happening here about quarantine. You know, like The Simpsons have been credited with a lot of prophecies, and it seems like
Tommy has a point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess that's when you're observing things. Maybe that's like a phenomenon. Mm-hmm. If you understand something so well, then you're able to make you almost become kind of clairvoyant. You have this kind of eye into the perceiving the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and history is important to me.
Yeah.
All different types of history.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So what are things you would like to see in Sonkhonkett in the future?
Things I'd like to see. Wow, that's a really good question. Something I love, like the three-dimensional nature of puppetry, and something I've really enjoyed in the past is when animation comes in. So I love the different dimensions of Sonkhonkett. I'm speaking specifically about the videos. So, for instance, when Jasper Jenkins went on a psychedelic trip.
That was on the episode Appreciating the Ethereal Spirits. That's his sommelier of inhalant channel that you can find on Sonkhonkett Community Access. I'll have a link below.
Yeah, yes.
To that.
So, like, incorporating Sean Cleary's his animation in that, I thought that was really cool.
And Zoe Abbott's.
Okay, yeah.
Zoe Abbott did the one of where you see Jasper and Sean Cleary's as the abstracted colors and audio, yeah.
That's right. I love that stuff. So I would love to see more of that, and specifically, one direction I would love to see you go in with animation, it would be claymation. I just love like real shadows and real light, bouncing off the characters. I love the props too. I think architecture is something that really, the unique styles of architecture in this area of New England, like Boston, Greater Boston, the triple deckers, those. Just the architecture in Boston, like you capture it really well, and with the cardboard, I'd love to see more of that. And again, that kind of takes the same role of that three-dimensional quality, meeting with like surreal playing with the expectations of what surreal art does. I think you do that very well. So more architecture and more animation, and what else would I say? What I would actually like to see is slower shots. So like something that establishes the terrain, like the area itself. We get a lot of like conversation, like heavy dialogue, and I know like it's comedy is the goal, but like a slower shot to really establish like the environment would be something I'd love to see.
Yeah, I had to compromise myself with that because of internet culture.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't respond well with most people.
Yeah,
and I hate that because that's the problem. I one of the few. Like, I'm cool with all the new phenomenons that are happening in comedy, but like the whole speed thing, that messes things up. You need to build up tension. You need
absolutely.
that time, and you also need to build up the world. So yeah, and I probably just will make videos that are purposely like slower, because I kind of like the kind of mundane and kind of day-to-day shots. Like someone really liked in the pilot episode just Charlie walking past a calendar.
Exactly.
Like people really like. I remember Sonkhonkett said that just kind of like that stood out to her.
Yeah.
And I like that type of stuff. Unfortunately, with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
they need their flashy bam bam.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely want to get back into the stuff that does establish the environment, and with this quarantine that we're in now, I have the time to do that. So I am doing more background drawings. I'm going to get into the building sets. I got right behind here the corner store, so I'm going to be working on that, and then I plan on having a sub shop as well.
Yeah, you gotta have a sub shop.
The animation thing, that's tough because like I believe in paying my performers.
Yeah.
And animation is really expensive.
Oh yeah.
It's like I don't believe in like cheap skating anybody.
Yeah.
I just don't have any connections at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of frustrating. I went to school with a lot of animators, but so far they just kind of went their own separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I am experimenting with videos, and as I showed you, I don't want to give it away, but I am just doing artsy weird shit for the sake of artsy weird shit. There's no plot, there's no point, it's just to be experimental with video and video with Sonkhonkett and the characters. So you'll see that in the coming weeks. I want there definitely to be more animation. I feel like that's very important. Melissa Dole is working on her own stop motion figurines. So
awesome.
We will if you check out her social media, Instagram, you can see that stuff. Yeah, I definitely would like to incorporate that stuff into the show.
Very cool.
I'm not complaining, but I just have so many different things to do. I can't do everything.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so it's I have to kind of prioritize. Right now, the big thing is making money. Trying to figure that out. I am selling prints of the Sonkhonkett landscapes at very cheap prices. If you folks want to buy yourself a print, copies of a print start at $25 a piece.
Not bad. Can't say no to that.
No, you can't. But yeah, right now it's just getting the skits out and just building. Now that I have the time, I can work on building kind of more complicated sets, as I mentioned, with the corner store, the corner spa, and the sub shop. And then just making making better iterations of the puppets. I will be creating Kimberly Spatchcock. Yeah, it's a pretty all immersive show, and if you're interested in participating, we can get you working on things. Folks are always looking for stuff. And then there's all the music that's made. Pat Gilherm, who performs Tommy McGarvey, aka the 617 Rage, does all the music for the show. And now we got James, who performs
James,
Squeaks, who's the beat maker for the 617 Rage. He's doing some beats now, which is cool. So that's part of, once again, to make this very real, you need to have like sound. You need to have and I will be including some of those beats in this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Introducing him.
Put your dancing shoes on, folks.
Yep.
Toss in the earbuds and get the right footwear on.
Yes, you will be seeing more Sonkhonkett skits, all different characters. Yep, Charlene's going to be, pumping out videos whenever she feels like it. Yeah, just new things will be made, new backgrounds. And I'm going to be very experimental with video, because I, folks, don't have a degree or any sort of formal training in video. I've had to all teach myself this, and I'm also not like a tech person, not that great with computers, so I had to kind of...
What did they teach you at Mass Art?
What did they teach me? Well, the first semester I had 3 weeks of intro to Final Cut. And that helped a lot.
That's a good one, yeah. Final Cut's good.
That was probably one of the most useful things I learned my first year of Mass Art.
Yeah.
All this stuff is very intimidating, but I've learned you gotta bite the bullet at times and just make the mistakes, get humiliated.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that humiliation will go away, and then you'll have these new tool sets where you can do things that just can make more things and better things. So my kind of philosophy is just kind of, bite down like Dottie when Tommy's like misbehaving. Just give a good shake and just don't let go.
That's right, don't let go.
Don't let go.
Yep.
Don't let go. You can't have him win.
I like that.
Yeah, folks, so this is the Sonkhonkett Podcast. I'll be releasing them. I gotta be honest, I don't have a schedule, but I'll work on that. It's kind of tough with quarantine, getting people, but there will be a link to a previous episode. It's called Articulated Foolery, and it's me and Melissa Doller on that. Very funny and interesting episode. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed Will Wagans. There'll be links to his stuff. You can check out his website and his Instagram. Makes a lot of really cool paintings. So you have, if you have money to throw around for paintings.
Hey!
He's your man.
That's right. Kyle, I've got one more question for you before we wrap it up. Who are you in Sonkhonkett? What's the character that you most identify with?
So I have played myself a couple times just for the viewers.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count, but those are kind of like caricatured characters of me.
Yeah.
If I had to say, I'd say Scups. Like, they're all a little bit me. Now, obviously in different degrees. But, yeah, Scups is like, if you had to say one was the most, I'd say, yeah, that's that poor little...
I was going to say
half like fishmonger, half cod that is peddling his own kind.
Yeah. And
he never got the kind of acceptance from his father. See, his father came from the Azores, and found work in Gloucester on a fishing boat, and eventually was able to buy his own fishing boat, and it would get lonely at night at sea, and one night he had his way with cod. Cod was thrown into the water, and several hundred spawn came out of that. One of them was Scups, and Scups would swim up to his father's boat and cry for attention, wanting to help him, school the herring. But his father kept ignoring him. He looked at Scups as kind of this, as kind of a shameful thing, a shameful reminder of him in a desperate situation. And Scups kept coming and just begging to help, and eventually sadness kind of won. Defeat overcame him, and he slowly crawled his way onto the shore and found an abandoned van, and used that to peddle fish around the North Shore. It's not easy trying to hang yourself when you're just that slippery. So he, ironically, is more slippery than Tommy's father.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see more Scups, definitely, in the upcoming year with this fish stand.
Do you see, so that he's one of the most, he's a tragic character, but also, I would say the most morally sound.
Yeah, he doesn't. There's no bitterness in him.
Right.
There's no aggressiveness. There's no. He's making an honest living.
Mm-hmm.
There's no arrogance because his self-esteem is so low.
I'd say that there's also there's people with a low self-esteem though who are incredibly arrogant.
Absolutely, but like he can't like.
And he's not like that. Like,
but that's how low his self-esteem is.
Okay. He just can't even get there.
No, he can't even get there. It's like where the flounders are. He's beneath the flounders.
A flat fish for those of you who
yeah.
paper thing.
Melissa likens to the children of the parents that like moved out of Southie to the South Shore when she visits Castle Islands. She go get you go out there to roll a blade and get your I like that. I'm not familiar with Southie as much, but I guess they have like a certain type of fry there. Like,
okay.
What do you call it? It's like a waffle fry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm butchering the accuracy of all this stuff, Melissa. Flounder children and Scup sells those at a good price. So
the flounders.
Oh yeah, flounders. Yeah.
Ugh.
They might be a couple days old, but cheap. Come
on. That's one of the fish that my dad would make me eat. Yeah, my dad made me eat every fish that I caught when I was a kid. I never even liked fish. But I didn't necessarily even want to go fishing. But this was so I can relate to, my dad was a good guy though, for the record.
So yeah, that's our first official episode. Well, official meaning the title on this episode is the Sonkhonkett Podcast, because I figured we make it marketable.
Yeah. Keep it on brand.
Keep it on brand, kid. So yeah, check out. Please subscribe to this because we need 32 more subscribers to reach 100. And what 100 means is that I can change the URL to youtube.com/Sonkhonkett, and that makes it easier for people to find this channel, subscribe to it, spread the videos, and in other words, eventually bring in money so I can create more stuff to get out to you people. And it's just better. It's a simple thing. You just tap on that glass on your phone or that button on your computer. Just subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Facebook, Sonkhonkett at Facebook, Sonkhonkett at Instagram, Sonkhonkett on Twitter. And you can go to sonkhonkett.com, check out the photographs with the descriptions, go to the portfolio section, click on Portfolio 1, and you'll find all the backstories of the characters with pictures. There's concept artwork.
Very cool, man.
We'll be sonking that honk. Yeah, I don't know how to end this thing.
Well, thanks for having me on. And thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you around the marsh.
Bye-bye. Hey,